There are countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE that got rich using their oil money. There are countries like China that started with their fertile lands and agriculture industry to become a wealthy nation. And then there's Argentina, which, to put it simply, has it all, but for some reason remains poor. Despite having ample resources, the world only recognizes Argentina for its struggling economy and deteriorating living standards. The good thing is that things are starting to change, and it's all thanks to one particular man and one particular resource. How are living standards improving in Argentina? Who is Javier Milei? And how is Argentina starting to change its economic future? This is the story of Argentina and how it's betting on energy to save them. Where does Argentina stand? Before we understand where Argentina's economy and living conditions start, let's first look at how much potential it holds. The country's diverse landscapes, ranging from the towering Andes Mountains to the lush Patagonian steppe and the subtropical jungles of Mesopotamia, hold the potential to attract millions who cherish the wonders of nature. And those who prefer vibrant city life can get their best experience by visiting the capital of Argentina, Buenos Aires. Argentina has a land area of 2.78 million square kilometers, which is the 8th largest in population. While it may be incomparable to countries like Russia and Canada, unlike them, most of Argentine land is fertile and suitable for agriculture. To give you a better idea, Argentina can produce food for more than 400 million people, almost 9 times its population, which stands at 46.7 million. They are also an oil-rich nation with nearly 3 billion barrels of oil reserves. The nation also has a balanced fertility rate of 2.15 births per woman, which neither puts them at risk of shrinking population, nor does it make them worry about overpopulation. Now let's see why they're struggling. Nobel Prize-winning economist Simon Kuznets once famously said there are 4 types of economies: developed, underdeveloped, Argentina, and Japan. This statement, made in the 1960s, still feels relevant today. Japan, despite lacking natural resources, kept growing richer and richer, but now it's slowly losing what it once built. Meanwhile, Argentina, a country with an abundance of resources, has remained trapped in poverty. 52.9% of Argentinians live below the poverty line, up from 41.7% just last year. Homelessness has become alarmingly common, with Buenos Aires seeing an increase of 300 homeless people every month, as reported in September 2024. But guess what? Things might not be getting worse. For the first time in a long time, Argentina may be finally on the verge of turning its fortunes around. And now that you're all caught up, let's talk about how. Who is Javier Milei and what's he doing? In November 2023, Argentina elected a libertarian government. The first libertarian president, Javier Milei, took office on December 10, 2023.
Que tengamos claro que vamos a empezar la reconstrucción.
Since Milei is the first libertarian president, it was quite obvious that there would be some changes in the system, but no one knew whether that change would be good or bad. And as discussed earlier, poverty rates reached a new peak. Homelessness started to rise. The inflation rates also reached the sky as soon as he took office, with inflation in the months of December 2023 and January 2024 at 25.5% and 20.6% respectively. For comparison, only 16 countries other than Argentina had inflation rates higher than 25% in that entire year. Picture this: Argentina's monthly inflation is being compared here with the annual inflation of other countries, yet Argentina is among the worst. So if things went bad, why did we claim certain things might be improving? Well, before we get to that, if you enjoy learning about today's fascinating economic stories, be sure to subscribe. In the start, Milei warned that things could get worse before they got better. You might think that isn't something only he said. Most politicians say things like this, blaming the previous governments for their incompetence. But Milei didn't just say it, he proved it. He promised the nation that the monthly inflation would fall under 3% within 2024. His government achieved that target in October, when monthly inflation fell to 2.7%, which was the lowest in 3 years. The percentage of the population below the poverty line had increased to 52.9% in June 2024 from 41.7% in the second half of 2023. It's also improving, as it's only returning from its peak of 57.4% in February 2024. He didn't just blame the previous governments, he'd also given an explanation as to how the previous system was responsible for many of Argentina's problems. Let's take rental reforms as an example. Back in 2020, then-President Alberto Fernandez enacted the rental law in response to COVID-19. While it did make sense to temporarily put a limit on how much landlords can charge the tenants, it's beyond understanding why they continued with this after COVID, especially when they could see it wasn't working. Anyways, the intention behind that was to make housing more affordable, but in reality it only stopped investors from investing in the housing industry, gradually worsening the situation.
As someone who has stayed in the city many times, I can tell you that as beautiful as the apartments are on the outside, the inside shows the reality of these restrictions.
Milei lifted those rent controls, which for once increased the rents, but in the longer run motivated the investors to build more rental spaces and improve the conditions of currently available ones. Back in January 2024, Argentina saw its first monthly budget surplus in 12 years. Now keep in mind that this was only the second month of Milei's administration, and if the previous system was that bad, how come he achieved that so quickly? Well, making money takes time, but saving it can be done immediately. Milei cut spending on bureaucracy. The day his government was inaugurated, he signed an executive order cutting 12 government agencies, leaving only 9.
Ministerio de Cultura, afuera. Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible, afuera. Ministerio de las Mujeres y Género y Diversidad, afuera.
Overall, Argentina's recent growth can mostly be credited to Javier Milei and his government. However, one sector has been the backbone of Argentina for much longer than Milei's government, and that is the energy sector. Argentina depends heavily on its energy sector, and until now it has only given them hope. So what's with Argentina's energy sector and how are they betting on it? Let's understand this in the next section. Argentina's energy sector. Argentina's largest oil and gas production company, YPF, is also Argentina's third largest company by market cap. Until 1992, it was owned completely, but then President Carlos Menem turned it into a private corporation by selling out its shares in the New York Stock Exchange. By 2012, the government had sold out almost all the shares and was left with only 0.2%. 2 years back, in 2010, mass oil deposits at Vaca Muerta were discovered by a shareholder, Repsol. In 2012, the government decided to nationalize YPF, so they forced Repsol to sell its shares for $5 billion and now owns 51% of YPF. The nationalization and a lot of other things had kept YPF a topic of several controversies for more than 3 decades. We're not going to get into that today, but let us know if you want us to make another video on them. Anyway, those controversies cost the Argentinian government and YPF a lot. A penalty of $16.1 billion was also imposed on Argentina by the US courts in 2023, which they had to pay to minority shareholders. However, Argentina has filed for an appeal on that and the case is ongoing. So you can see they've bet a lot in YPF and thus the energy sector. After gaining control of Vaca Muerta and collaborating with multinational corporations to extract the fuel, Argentina was still unable to witness an energy surplus. Until 2023, the nation would often see shortages of car fuel, but things have changed now as Argentina was able to witness an energy surplus for the first time in the first month of 2024. The sector kept on improving and showed a surplus of $921 million in December 2024. So what changed? Well, there was a reason why the country wasn't seeing an energy surplus before. All the corporations that collaborated with YPF would sell crude oil to other countries rather than refining them within the country. They did that because of price controls in the country, something that Javier Milei's government has now lifted. Whether in the energy sector or elsewhere, Argentina is now achieving what it always had the potential to do. If a nation has a president like Javier Milei and an energy sector like Argentina's, nothing can stop it from growing. Well, let's just hope Argentina doesn't disappoint us this time and finally becomes the prosperous nation it was always supposed to be. We really hope this will be Argentina's turning point, just like we hope you enjoyed today's video and learned something valuable. Will Argentina finally reach its potential under the leadership of Javier Milei? It's a big question. Let us know your thoughts on this. Also, do you think your country also has a leader like Javier Milei? Comment below and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to stay tuned to the channel. See you in the next video soon.